So welcome to video part 2, Jeannie, and what we're going to look at now is this pathing that we have on the next stage, this inspired oak leaf. I would never have thought of doing this, just the way in which you've handled it for looking at that oak leaf shape, and in fact it actually is. Well done for seeing it. I would never have spotted that. We all do different things. Okay, I'm going to drop this away and just look at this in simulated stitch because of the way in which you have that stitching in. So you do your outline and then you filled coming from the out to the inner. I'm just going to look at 2, just speed it up a little bit, and again outline stitch and coming down. Okay. And that goes all the way around, so you're starting at the top, you're coming down, and then you're travelling along this line here. That's absolutely fine. You just have to bear in mind, obviously, that when you're normally doing a circular design, that you sometimes have to think, you've kept your stitches light, which is why it works for you. But if you were doing something that was heavier stitched, you'd need to seriously think about perhaps starting in the centre and working your way out. Just something to bear in mind for other designs. It's not a problem on this one. Now, just one little thing that I wanted to talk to you about on this one here is, if you look here, there's your edge run. I don't know how clearly you can see it. Just take it up a little bit, perhaps. Here. I'm going to ungroup this. Ungroup it. Now, when you're actually looking at this one is the one we want to look at. I'm not going to do it with the others, although it works on all of these the same. Let's just have a quick look here. Go to parameters, and you can set all these in advance, but what I want to do is go to main, and then I want you to look here at this offset. This is your main minimum stitch length. You're using a size 14 needle, so let's take that up to 9. Looking at your offset, I always go for actuals, i.e. absolute, rather than percentages. Now that tells me that this here on your fills is 0.6 from that trace line here. It's quite big. I would take that down to 0.2. Again, I would do the same on columns. Applique a little bit different. Again, on your fills, your offset of your zigzag, I would still want that to be at about 0.2 for most things, and again on the column 0.2. On my stitch lengths, okay, my column center underlay, I still want that at my minimum length. Okay, these here, we're looking at minimum lengths, maximum lengths. Okay, they're not too bad as far as that's concerned. So I can say to this, when I actually set up my first design, hold parameters for new objects. I don't then have to keep changing this. It should stay there. So going back to this one here, now watch what happens having adjusted that when we do this. I'm not going to mess with anything else as far as this is concerned, and I'm going to hit apply, and can you see how this edge now, it's become a proper edge. Just have to watch that little bit there where it's scooted outside the line. That's just a node issue, I think, on that one here. Just again, something to think about, and make it a proper edge. It's not really doing anything while it's in here. You're wanting it to support this edge so that this is not going to pull in quite so much. Okay, just cancel that, which sets it back to where it was before. And again, we can look here. We've only got scissors there because of the colour change as far as that comes all the way through. Absolutely fine. No problem at all. Coming down there. These are your run lines in between on each of them. Nice job. Okay, so let's bring this back in and this one back in. Now, you then go and put in your candle wicks. And in fact, the way that you path this is, it's a motif run line, and you started here, and you put your nodes in coming around here and on there. Let's just knock these away, and you can see what's actually happening in 3D shows it quite well. So you started here, came around here, and scooted across. Now, notice you've got an extra candle wick dropped in here, and there's one there. This one doesn't matter if you're looking at some sort of an accurate representation here. There's two lines here and then the single dot there. and on your oak leaf you've done it quite inspired. There's no reason why it can't join together. It's just that when you go larger, you probably will need to think that this line is actually going to expand even more. So when we do this, don't worry about that one, because when we put that in, it covers it up. It's not noticeable at this size, but when that goes larger, you could find that there'll be extra ones in here, there'll be extra ones in there. If you want to keep this definition of the line here, the line there, and the single one at the top, that will disappear and it'll just become sort of a collection of dots on your larger one. And again, you just need to wait and see what happens when you actually come to it. So now we've got the background, the ornaments, the oak leaves, the candle wicks going in on top of that. We've put in our copper leaves. Same issue here where we did the underlay before, remember, on that and that. And similarly, if we go to vectors, you'll be able to see this underlay offset. It needs to be a little bit further out. It's too far in at 0.6 from that edge. My opinion, again, you do what you like. It's just something to think about. But again, just do a quick unpack of that, just to do a quick check. Yeah, no problem, all the pathing's spot on, not an issue at all. Just undo to get rid of the ungrouping very quickly. So having put the copper in on the leaves, you then followed up with this little center here, plain fill, just this little leaves, and then what's gone in is this gold satin dot. Now that dot at the moment is 5mm, it's half a centimetre. When you double the size of that, that's going to go up to a full centimetre or 10 mils. It's borderline in terms of a satin as to how long those stitches should be. If is it going to be clothing, then really you need to be either looking at changing it to a fill or perhaps doing something a little different with it. And here's a thought: you could just pop this in here. Let's say, for example, we take it up to, let's just make it, there we go, that's up to the size that it's going to be, and let's generate those stitches. Okay, so now let's carve it. Okay, and over in vectors probably it's easier to do. Put in our lines. I think I'll move that one to here. Okay, pop this one here, move that up there, and then pop another one here, just slot it back over there. Do that one, hit enter and generate stitches. Okay, look at that in 3D. And you can do something like that, which shortens these stitches so that it's not going to catch if you are going to stitch it out on clothing. So edit, undo, edit, undo, edit, undo, and last one, edit, undo, takes it back to the size that it was before. Let's pop these all back in. Just clicking on this little eye to do the show and hide. Okay, so when you've put this little gold center in, you're carrying on with the gold then, and you're actually doing this top stitching that comes in here. And finally, you're going to finish up with going back to the green stitches where you lay down this outlining and then this scroll stitch around the outside and the stem stitch here. And again, you've dealt with the pathing admirably well on that one. So let's ungroup it and then we can actually see what's happened with it here. So absolutely fine all the way down to here. So that is all the outlining there. I can put that all into one group and there are no issues with the pathing on it. And then of course what happens is from this point here you jump out, you put in that motif run line, and then it continues around onto the final outline around the outside, and it's all very nicely done. I'm just going to take this here again, something that you need to think about when you're actually expanding this to a larger size. Okay, just take it up one more and you'll see what I mean. Just have a look at some node adjustment as far as we're concerned here. This has got a curve on, whereas these have got some nice sharp neat points. It's just node placement. Okay, just have a think about where that's going to go on that one when it's larger. Take that back down now by right clicking on it. That's back down to natural size. bring it up one. There we go. That'll be the size if you want to take it into the 200 hoop. Just make it larger. Now, this is where we start to have a little bit of fun. And we can say, you know what does that look like without? Looks quite nice. We can start now, when you're putting it onto your clothing, do them in different sizes. You can use the motifs. Take away this. Let's have a look at taking away these. How about that? Starts to look quite attractive, and then you can start saying, okay, how about we take that one off? And then we could actually also take that away. You can put this back with those, and you start to get some quite attractive effects. It's even quite nice doing this one here. Perhaps do a little bit of alterations. Just leave the stars in maybe. Take these out. You can take the yellow off. There we go. Even that looks quite nice. It reminds me of a plate design really. Obviously you would drop one or two of these little bits and pieces away. But the point being that you can use all the elements that you have in your design, and you can actually replicate them but in different ways, and it just looks so totally different. Nice. Take those two away. Even that one. They can look so effective. And if you're doing this as a display on, say, some clothing, you can put the different bits and pieces together. Even just doing something like the stars on its own is nice. Just gives a linking effect between the different elements and the different designs that you do, and yet it's all come from one mandala design. So here we are back to the original, and just right click, we're back to the original size. So I really do hope that you have a go with this, and just so that you can see how we can all look at things in different ways. This here was an example of, it's not finished yet, but again using exactly that same graphic that you used here, and I had a play with Embird, and I used that number 15, the candle wicks. I just used a run line on these here, just went over it a couple of times, and again starting here, stopping here, coming around. It's exactly the same graphic and yet looks like a completely different design, and it just shows how we all can think about things in different ways. I hope you have fun with it. Enjoy. I've enjoyed learning how to use Embird, certainly, and it's got lots of nice things in it. Very powerful program, just for such good value for money compared with the price of some of the other programs. They might do an awful lot more in terms of fancy bits and pieces, but Embird's got so many things in it, it's amazing.